What is going on, you guys? Hello from beautiful Aspen, Colorado. Filming again out of our camper van. For those that are not aware, my wife and I became financially free in about 1.5 years after making our first ever investment into short-term rental properties. So think Airbnb or VRBO. Investing in short-term rental properties has changed our lives. It has helped us achieve financial freedom and honestly pursue what we've always wanted to do, which was to travel more. So we bought this camper van and we're taking this escapade around the United States for an indefinite period of time, probably, I don't know, 4 to 12 months, somewhere in there. I know it's kind of a big window, but we're using this travel to explore and also figure out where we want to plant roots. Now, how do we manage our Airbnb properties from this camper van? And honestly, the most common question I get asked from a lot of people is, how can I invest out of state? Because my market, if I invest in my own backyard, is not going to produce the returns that you were telling me it will on YouTube. So, how do you guys invest from afar? And then once you do invest from afar, how do you manage those properties from a distance without hiring a property manager? So I'm going to explain all of that in detail in this video, so make sure you guys hang around till the end. Now, if you find some value in this video, please do hit the like button below. It helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm. And if you're not subscribed already but enjoy this content, please subscribe and follow along for more in the future. So you may be asking, why wouldn't we be paying a property manager so we can just be 100% passive, completely hands-off, and not have to deal with messaging guests, syncing calendars, talking with our cleaners, repairs and maintenance, and things like that? Honestly, technology today has made it possible for us to manage properties, and any of you guys out there manage properties without having to pay a PM. Now, most PMs traditionally charge 20 to upwards of 40% of your revenue. That is an insane number, and if you guys dive into the numbers like I frequently do on this channel, if you're forking up 20 to 40% of your revenue, it can dig into your margins and your cash flow, your cash on cash return significantly. So that's the first and foremost reason why I don't choose to pay a PM, at least today, is because I don't want to fork up 20 to 40% of revenue when I know they're going to automate around 90% of it anyway. So why can't I leverage technology and automate it ourselves and avoid paying them 20 to 40%? Because it ultimately will jack our returns up significantly. Traditionally, PMs would market your property, they would have their own booking website, and they would advertise it locally and maybe on the internet. So they would have to pay for advertisements, they would have to pay people to sit in an office for families on vacation to stop by, pick up keys, get the house rules, recommendations for around the city and things like that. Fast forward to the 2000s when VRBO and Airbnb really took off. It really democratized short-term rental investing for individuals like myself and you guys watching out there. Because the days are over where you have to pay a PM to market the property. You don't have to have somebody sit in an office to provide keys. You can do all that if you want to provide some level of like concierge service or something like that. But for us, I want to automate as much as possible on our end, and honestly also automate as much as possible for the guests. We want to provide the best possible guest experience. We all live in this digital age where we're on our phones 24/7. You can scroll through Airbnb, VRBO, Vacasa, all these other booking platforms, scroll through thousands of properties and hotels and look at photos, descriptions. You can look on a map of the area. A lot of people will provide guest books too, whether it be online or in the house. And there's keyless entries when you get there. And then there's all sorts of just easy ways to communicate with the host where you do not have to have somebody sit there on site. So for all those reasons, I don't find it necessary to pay a PM that much money or that large of a portion of your revenue. So my wife and I did quit our corporate jobs, and we were traveling full time, doing content and doing our real estate investments, managing our Airbnbs. And I always flaunt the term early retirement. What I mean by that is early retirement from a 9 to 5 job. I'm no longer trading time for money. And then people are like, well, you just have a different job. You're a property manager now. And, they're correct to some extent, but really we're able to automate most of it. So we're only working maybe 1 to 2 hours a week, max, on most weeks. So I'd rather trade 1 to 2 hours of my time for exponential income and cash flow and equity gain through these investments than trade 40 to 60 hours a week at a desk somewhere. So that's why I love real estate so much, especially short-term vacation rental properties. Now, in order to limit the amount of time you spend managing these properties, by the way, we have 4 Airbnbs currently that we manage and we self-manage, again, 1 to 2 hours a week. it could be much more time spent if we didn't automate a lot of the processes behind the scenes. So let's review some of the different processes or systems and team members that you need to bring on in order to limit the amount of time that you spend actually working to make this a majority passive income investment. Number one, and this is the most crucial part of your team, and this is to interview and hire really, really great cleaners. And this could be a small mom and pop business, it could be just an individual, it could be a larger cleaning group, but communication is key. I like to have direct communication with either a manager overseeing the cleaners or the cleaners themselves, because honestly, the cleaners are the ones that are actually in those properties every day. If you use a massive cleaning company where you're communicating just with someone who's sending you invoices for the turns, you have no idea what these cleaners are actually seeing. So if you're getting bad cleaning reviews, well, what were they? If the guests don't tell you in the review, it's really hard to fix those issues. And also having great cleaners, they can communicate anytime there's damage in the property, or if their guest left a mess and you need to message them or charge them extra money and things like that. Additionally, you need to have cleaners that are willing to adopt, some level of technology and calendar syncing tool. There are tons of them out there. I'm going to review Your Porter here in a second for a property management software, but you can use stuff like resort cleaning or even just export the iCal link directly from Airbnb, VRBO, or other platforms and send it to your cleaner so they can sync calendars and have all the bookings show up in their calendar so they are well aware of when check-ins and check-outs are. Number two is maintenance. Now, this is something I wish I automated earlier. We spent the first, 8 to 10 months or so doing a lot of the maintenance ourselves, just at least on the properties in Nashville, which we live next to, right? But that's a hole that I didn't want to dig any further into. We needed to outsource, especially while we're traveling, especially while all you guys are probably watching this video. How do you outsource this stuff? So there are all sorts of really cool companies right now. One in particular called Airbnb. I had the founder of the company and someone on their staff on a YouTube episode. You can look back and find that video. And that is an amazing subscription service. I think they're still charging around $100 a month for unlimited service calls. So they've fixed so many minor issues that would normally be a headache for us, especially in our Nashville properties. If something breaks or even a bunk bed needs to be replaced and put together, they will show up and complete that work order. And 99% of the time it's included in that subscription cost. So Airbnb is a terrific organization. Our cleaners in the mountains, where we have 2 mountain properties in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, we typically will just pay the cleaners extra because he's kind of a handyman himself. So he'll let us know when there's issues and we'll just pay him and tip him extra for time and materials, depending how long it takes him for whatever has to be fixed. And then that cleaning company actually just onboarded their own subscription maintenance service, which we signed up for. So we're going to see how that goes. Our first test run is here in June, but that's great because they do preventative maintenance. They'll come check batteries, they'll check the keyless entry, check the batteries in there, make sure everything's operating accordingly, replace dead light bulbs, do all sorts of minor stuff just to take the base level items off your plate. Because honestly, if you're not there ever or very rarely, it's hard for you guys to know when those little issues pop up. So having that taken care of right off the bat is awesome. In addition to maintenance, we have landscaping or HVAC services. This is really just keeping the property, in good shape and very presentable. Most of our properties I would consider more luxury stays, especially the places in the mountains, and weeds and grass can get out of hand out there. In the fall, leaves fall all over the place. So making sure you have landscapers out there, at least every other week, if not every week, just making sure the property is in tip-top shape. Number 3, I mentioned keyless entry. I'm going to go over that in detail here. This is crucial because the days are over where you need a physical key, although I still recommend having a physical key as a backup. But having keyless entry is so easy and so simple to set up. You guys have all probably seen them or used them at a time or two in your lives. You punch in a key code and you get in the house. So when you send the guest check-in instructions, they can just show up, check right in. They don't have to stop by an office like they used to, pick up a physical key, and then go check in. So once they're in, it's easy, no physical key, no losing the keys. And then we have the physical key as backup just in case there's an issue with that keyless entry. If the batteries die or some other issue has occurred, which has happened in the past, there's a physical key for backup so they're not sitting there waiting to get in the house. There's also a specific one that integrates with your porter. I'm sure there's going to be more to come. Different smart technologies that are Wi-Fi enabled locks, such as the, I think it's Slage or Slage, however you say it. And then the Nest one by Yale, I think also will integrate to certain platforms. But this is really cool. If you wanted to onboard this, it's like 30 cents each time a new code is sent. But between each guest, it'll actually change the code for you and send it to the new group of guests. So that way, if you want to, have a new code every time a guest checks in and checks out, you can do that without having to manually do it yourself. We also have security cameras at the entrance to every single one of our properties. This is really just for security purposes and also to keep track of our cleaning service, make sure they're showing up on time and they're done before the next group checks in. But also if a guest ever has an emergency, or honestly, if the power goes out, we'll stop getting notifications, so we'll know if there's a power outage or something like that. But having a security camera is also necessary if you're in an area like a city where maybe there's more crime than like way up in the mountains somewhere. Not that, you'll have crime all the time. We have had actually really no instances of that, but having a security camera gives you some peace of mind that you can check on the property, at least at the front door, to make sure everything's okay. Also, it helps just to make sure there's no parties being thrown at your property. So in addition to a security camera, there's something called Noise Aware, which checks like the decibel levels of the sound, basically telling you if there is, above a certain threshold of sound beyond whatever time you say is quiet time, like 10 or 11 p.m. at night. So using those different smart technologies can enable you guys to manage your properties and give you peace of mind while you're on the road or managing it from a different place. Now these last two are the most crucial. This one is Your Porter, or you can use Smart B&B or Guesty. There's tons of other tools out there. I like using Your Porter for a couple of the features they offer, but Your Porter is a property management software. So what this does, especially if you use more than one listing platform such as Airbnb and VRBO, it'll sync the calendars and then block the dates. So for example, if you get booked on Airbnb and you forget to actually manually block the VRBO dates if you were not using this tool, it blocks it for you. So it gives you complete peace of mind. It'll sync calendars. It will also message the guests using automation tools. So you can actually have messaging templates. So for us, every time somebody books, they get a reservation confirmation sent immediately, regardless if we're by our phone or computer. It's 2 days before check-in, we send check-in instructions. So they have a detailed list of check-in instructions. They'll get house rules the day of, and then they get check-out instructions, and then also a thank you note the day after that they check out. Now Your Porter also has this tool called Auto Review. Now you can override this if you want, but I turn it on most of the time because most of our guests are great, so we give them 5-star reviews and make sure that they know we appreciate their business. So when they get an auto review, it's really critical for them reviewing you, because Airbnb notifies them several times, hey, Michael's reviewed you guys. In order to look at his review, you have to review your stay with him. Now the reason that's so important is because the more positive reviews you get, it's going to boost you in Airbnb or even VRBO search results, depending on which platform the review is on. Now that's critical because the higher you get boosted in search, the more views you get on your property and the more bookings you're likely going to get further out, the more you can charge per night, so your occupancy and average daily rate go up. In turn, your revenue and cash flow goes up. So all these things play a part into it, but that has really helped us boost ourselves in Airbnb search. You can also sync calendars with cleaners directly from Your Porter. You can add people as team members and send them task lists. So for example, for our cleaners, we can actually send them a text and or an email notification whenever we want. So if we want it sent to them when a guest books, we can send it to them 5, 7, 9, however many days you want before a guest checks in or checks out, with all that detailed information with the number of guests. You can have the names of the guests included in that as well, but that just gives them an extra, a ping right on their phone or email, whatever, to let them know when guests are checking out and when they need to go perform the turnover clean. And the last one I want to mention, and this is crucial, this is honestly the biggest time suck for me personally because I was constantly changing pricing, but this is Price Labs. And I'll drop a link to this and Your Porter down below. But Price Labs is a pricing tool that allows you to put very detailed customizations, and it will sync with Your Porter or any of the other PMS softwares, and even Airbnb directly or Your Porter directly, whatever, not Your Porter, VRBO directly, whatever you guys want to use. But what's really cool about this, you set customizations. You can even set seasons. So if you have a very seasonal location, right, like a beach or a northern lake where it's very quiet one time of year, you set your base pricing. You have a minimum, a maximum. You can do weekend pricing, weekday pricing, far out pricing, like all sorts of cool stuff. Now that's cool, but the best part about this tool is it will change your pricing intuitively on a daily basis based on demand in the area. There's 3 reasons why this is really important and honestly critical. So by changing your pricing based on demand, it's going to help you capture a higher daily rate for times when demand is high. So that's reason number 1. Reason number 2 is it will actually lower your prices when demand is low. So in other words, if you were normally priced out, let's say on like a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night, a midweek stay, if you were priced too high compared to your competition, but the supply wasn't great enough to get your place booked, they're going to book other places. So Price Labs will lower your pricing to get you in a better range to where it'll help you capture more bookings. So that's reason number 2, to help increase your occupancy rate. Reason number 3, changing your pricing will actually help you get boosted in Airbnb search. From my understanding, the algorithm looks at how active you are managing your listings. So outside of just how often your place is booked or your place is saved on Airbnb or how many positive reviews you get, the more you change little things in your listings like the description, the photo order, or even the pricing, it can help boost you in Airbnb search. So Price Labs does that for you behind the scenes. And honestly, ever since we onboarded that tool, it's given us great peace of mind, and we've been able to narrow down our pricing based on the time of year and be much, much better as far as capturing more bookings and at a higher average daily rate. So that's it. Those are the main things you guys need to consider if you want to kind of automate most of the business as far as your Airbnb properties are concerned and create it a mostly passive system. Again, we spend around 1 to 2 hours per week managing 4 Airbnb properties that are producing over $20,000 per month in cash flow after all expenses and mortgages are paid. Now, if you guys want a detailed walkthrough of how to invest in short-term rentals from start to finish, so from novice to what I would consider you to be an expert short-term rental investor, I will drop a link to my Airbnb Investor Academy course. I've had a few dozen people sign up already, and they're seeing tremendous results. And a lot of the folks that took the course and already have invested in a property are seeing amazing cash flow numbers. Student number 1 cash flowed over $4,000 his first month, and he's averaging $5,800 a month in cash flow already. So I'm so excited to see the success of others. And if you guys have any interest, again, link is down below along with all my other resources that I provide. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you guys have any comments or questions, drop them below. I love interacting with you guys, and I hope to see you all again sometime soon. See ya.